Now, what stops you from switching from iPhone or some other phone, really it's probably iPhone, to a Samsung phone? That is the question. I saw this tweet and I was like, I want to see what people say, because I know when I switched and why I switched was because at the time anyway, iPhone really wasn't doing anything. We're like 5 generations into the phone, iPhone 5, 5S, and the phone was just the same every single year. The software hadn't changed. Really nothing had changed with it. And then I remember playing with Android phones and be like, you know what? I don't love it. It feels a little bit laggy, but you can do so much on it. And it continually got better year after year after year in terms of the lagginess and the smoothness and all that. And the features got better and better. And it always felt like it was a couple of years ahead technologically versus what the iPhone was doing. So I wanted to see what people had to say and if I agreed with them at all. So Jesse Brown says, my unhealthy relationship with iMessage. iMessage is a huge deal why people don't switch. You still see a green bubble when you send a message to someone on Android, and it's that psychological thing of like, man, I don't want to see that, but you're still doing RCS, so it's not like you're missing out on high quality photos, videos, receipts, all that stuff. You are missing out on encrypted messages because iPhone doesn't want to totally incorporate everything into RCS. But regardless, most of it is there, and it's just ridiculous that having a green bubble is going to bother you that much so you wouldn't switch. Next would be, how should I answer this as someone who switched away from Sammy? Basically, they said they left, and they ended up saying, well, I do have my Samsung stuff with me, including the S24, but they're no longer my primary Android device. He doesn't go into reasons, but someone said camera hardware, which I don't know. I have to be honest. I know when I take videos and photos, I don't hate the way iPhone looks, but it's like so natural looking and the colors are darker. I actually prefer almost everybody else that does videos and photos, especially Samsung, because it's a little bit brighter. It's not a darker feeling. And I know you could change some of that stuff, but just on a common setting that you would set, a natural setting, that it's just not my favorite. Next would be someone just put Android. Ridiculous. Android is, a lot of people think Android's two things. People still think Android is like the crappiest thing. Or not that I wouldn't say it was crappy, but it definitely felt like a step down in terms of speed at one point. It wasn't as fast, it was laggy, and it had tons of features. And then they still have these $100, $200, $300 phones that don't perform very well, especially here in America. And they compare that to a high-end iPhone. Of course, it's not going to feel as good. I totally agree. But when you get into the Galaxy Z Fold 7 or an S25 series phone or a OnePlus phone or some other phone, it's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother level. I have a work Android. It took me longer to screenshot something than it has to find on my iPhone. Screenshot it, sent to myself, and then sent it to my work contact. Android just isn't user-friendly, and anyone who doesn't know this has probably... Is he crazy? Is he crazy? Taking a screenshot on Android, there's like a million different ways you can do it. You can do it with Gemini. You can do it by pressing and holding the power and the volume down. You can do it by... depending upon which phone you're using. Sometimes you can do a little gesture. You can do a gesture on the screen. There's a multitude of ways. And then once the screenshot shows, it's at the top. You can share it from there. I don't know what this guy's talking about. It's super easy. The monstrosity lines. I see this a lot in this thread. I've already looked through the thread. A lot of people are like, oh, there's lines on my phone. I would say on the folding phones, I've seen that quite a bit. But on their normal phones, they're I wish I can't find one right now. They're traditional candy bar phones. I've never had lines go through my phone. I haven't had any friends who've had that issue. I know there's always people in the world that will have this issue, but I would not say on their candy bar phones that it's a common thing to have lines go through your phone. That's just, to me, it's kind of BS-y and just doesn't seem correct. Folding phones in the past, yes. Now, of course, there's going to be the occasional one. But again, I don't have any of those issues. I haven't had lines in my phone, if ever, or a really long time. Then you've got this one right here. The OS, you can give me all the flash hardware you like, but it's the OS is crap. I don't know, dude. The OS is amazing. It's the reason I switched. And it's the reason I stay in Samsung. Not any OS is going to have bugs and be laggy sometimes or be weird about stuff. It's no matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's Google, Samsung, Apple. It happens. I hear it a lot on Apple. People are having buggy issues. To say that One UI is crap is, again, insane. Totally insane. It's not. It's great. So many features, very reliable. I don't know what you're talking about. I bought the Note 4 when it first came out. It would shut down and quit apps. I sent it to Samsung's Turkey service. They sent it me a new phone 4 months later. And a lot of phone calls to the service. Guess what? The new phone also has a flickering screen problem. Okay. A Note 4 was literally 10 years ago. 10 years ago, dude. 10 years ago. Samsung also 30 years ago, 40 years ago, did not make good quality stuff. They used to make low quality televisions that weren't that great. And then they just did a flip and they make amazing products. So again, to say that you're living in the past for something a decade ago, dude, time to revisit that and see what you think now, because I think you'd be blown away. One UI just feels cheap to me and I can't quite place my finger on it, bro. Seriously? Seriously? Feels cheap to you? I've literally, I don't think those words have ever come out of my mouth. I think with the new Apple software with the glass, I personally think that looks kind of cheap, honestly. I don't know I've never felt that way about Samsung personally. Honestly, I liked their color saturation from earlier models. The colors keep getting more and more washed out. You know what? Probably not fully wrong on that. I do feel like some of the saturation has been stripped, especially I remember there came a point, maybe it was 4 years ago, where that started to happen, where they ripped a lot of the coloring out of their displays to make it less saturated. I'm with them. I do like the more saturated look, but there are ways to bring it back. And I have a video on it. So search my video saturation. You should be able to find it. This one is humorous to me. Updates. After a year, they will release an update that will surely kill your camera or green lines on screen or kill something else. Dude, the running joke in this world is Apple puts out an update or they don't put out an update, but they're about to come out with their phone and everyone's complaining about my iPhone's buggy, my iPhone's laggy. How many times have you seen that meme and joke and people write it? That's a joke. So to say that about Samsung saying that they put these updates out all the time that kill something, again, ridiculous. But of course, just like anybody, there are going to be bugs when you release a software thing. So you might fix something, but might break something. Again, it's not any different than really anyone else. iPhone just feels better to daily drive and performs better to me. And I've got the new Fold for work stuff. So I can say I just don't like the Android ecosystem compared to the UX-focused Apple. I mean, he's not saying anything bad, to be fair. He's not saying anything really negative. He's saying he has a preference one over the other. I think and it depends what his main phone is in Apple. So I doubt. And when you're saying, hey, I got my work phone and I got a personal phone, how many times are you going to like your work device over your personal device? That's one thing to think about. The other thing to think about is if you've been iPhone for all these years and you're still using an iPhone and you just use an Android phone for half the time or half the day or a full day, whatever it may be, but you still go back to your iPhone, I can almost guarantee you're always going to go back to what you're comfortable with. That's like anything in life. You know, if you break up with your girlfriend, but she never leaves your house, you're going to be comfortable with her and you're just going to stay there. People get comfortable with stuff. You have to, when you're going to switch phones, you have to put that other phone off, turn it off, put it in a drawer, do not touch it, and just use that new phone for like 2 weeks and see how you feel. The durability of the device is my major concern. I was initially a Samsung user. Every single Samsung phone I had stopped working properly after 1 to 2 years. They were always issues. I got my parents' Samsung phones. My mom's phone hangs up half the time. One UI changes are so random that they aren't able to quickly adapt to the sudden changes. The phones were nice when new, but day to day they have gotten worse. That is why I would never ever consider Samsung as my next phone. iPhones have none of these problems. It functions great and it's consistent on a daily basis. Battery will degrade over time, which is natural, and once you replace it, it's good for another couple of years. Again, I don't agree with this. I just don't agree with that. Saying that your phone's gonna just starts messing up randomly year after year. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't usually keep my Samsung phones for more than a year. But even at that year mark, I'm not like, oh my God, it's time. This thing's a piece of crap. I don't feel that way. Especially on the candy bar phones, the S25 Ultra, the S25 Edge. Those phones are smooth as can be, rock solid, amazing devices. My Z Fold phones, up until the 7, have been pretty good in terms of software. Sometimes they act a little weird, but honestly, you should think about that because they're a completely different form factor. But I would say 90% of the time, completely fine. And not to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I cannot use this. What's going on? All I got to do is close the dang phone and use the outside display. So it's usually never an issue. At least I haven't had those issues. So you can kind of see where we're going with this. People are just complaining about like, hey, the software sucks. It's unreliable. There's lines in the display. They're removing features. They're doing this. They're doing that. I'm trying to think of even features that they've personally removed that I absolutely hate. Saturation would probably be the biggest one, but there's ways to grab that saturation back. And beyond that, the reliability has been amazing. I feel like on the Android side especially, Samsung's probably the most well-built phones you can get. The devices are amazingly built. Software is also really, really reliable. So if you haven't tried one in a while, you have nothing to lose. Try it again. Put your iPhone away and try it for 2 weeks. See how you feel. Let me know your thoughts, though. Do you think Samsung's completely lost a step? Do you think they're going down? Do you think they've always been bad? Let me know in the comments down below. Have a great day. We'll see you down the road. Peace.